So that is the macroscopic anatomy. This is the microscopic anatomy, which you should be somewhat familiar with as well. You had to look at some of these structures on the models. I believe they did a little lecture on it. If we want to look at the structures we just talked about, this is the cortex. This is the medulla down here. Now, the functional unit of the kidney is called the nephron. What do you say, 2 to 3 billion nephrons per kidney, something like that? These are the structures that are going to be doing the filtering of the urine, or creating the urine, filtering the plasma, creating the urine. And the basic parts of the nephron include what we call the renal corpuscle, or corpuscle. Corpuscle is really the proper pronunciation. That includes what's called the glomerulus, which is this tuft of capillaries here, which includes a blood vessel that goes in and a blood vessel that comes out. So we have what's called the afferent arteriole that brings the blood into the glomerulus. The blood leaves the glomerulus and enters the efferent arteriole. That's the blood supply portion of the glomerulus. Then we have what's called which is a catch basin. We have the structure that's going to be collecting everything that's filtered out of that glomerulus, and that's called the glomerular capsule, or the Bowman's capsule. If you imagine the glomerulus as a faucet, the glomerular capsule, or Bowman's capsule, is the sink. Collectively, they make up what's called the renal corpuscle. We also have the renal tubules, like the pipes that lead from the sink to the sewer. The first tube here that comes right off of that Bowman's capsule is called the proximal convoluted tubule. Convoluted because it's all twisted and folded. What we'll see is that tubule kind of straightens out and dips all the way down into the medulla, or part way down into the medulla, just depending on the type of nephron it is. We have what's called the nephron loop. Okay, we have what we call the ascending and descending limb. So as it goes down into the medulla, it's the descending limb. We have the loop itself, and then we have the ascending limb. It's also called the loop of Henle. And then we have over here what's called a distal convoluted tubule. And many distal convoluted tubules will attach to collecting ducts. And the collecting ducts are which will lead down into the calyces, and the ends of those collecting ducts form those renal papillae. The collecting duct really is not part of the nephron. That's a separate structure. We'll just list it up here. So the nephron, collecting duct. We also have an additional blood supply. Besides that blood supply that supplies the nephron, the glomerulus itself, we can see that efferent arteriole dips down into the medulla and forms a capillary network called the vasa recta. So we have this vasa recta here. And we also have a blood supply that surrounds the proximal and distal convoluted tubules as well. And that also comes off of, and they're only showing it separately, but they are coming off all the same areas. We have right here, and these are called the peritubular capillaries. Peri meaning around. And these, both the vasa recta and peritubular capillaries are very important because what we're going to see happening is that there's a significant amount of water and electrolytes and nutrients that are filtered out of the plasma. The glomerulus is not very selective. It's basically a semi-permeable membrane. If things are able to fit through the openings, they do. It's not like a cell membrane where it selects based on chemical and physical properties what goes into and out of the cell. It's a semi-permeable membrane. So we have to have these capillaries here so that we can reclaim a lot of the substances that were filtered out and get them back into the blood. Okay? And that's what these vasa recta and peritubular capillaries do. Their job is to get those substances and put them back into the blood